the idea is if you are empowering someone, it means you are giving them the power, right? Power that historically has been taken from them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have, again, the power to give it to them, it means you have the power to take it back anytime you want.
Map It Forward Business Mastermind groups are back for 2024. And if past mastermind groups are anything to go by, you absolutely want to be a part of this if you're a business owner ready for change. Spots are limited to 10 people per group. And if you own a business in the coffee sector and are looking for support in a nurturing and focused group coaching environment, this could be the thing that helps you through these challenging times in coffee and jumpstarts your planning for 2025. There are 3 mastermind groups, each with a different business focus. I will be your coach, and the first one will be focused on strategic business planning, the second one on business growth, and the third on increasing your sales in coffee, both B2B and B2C. Groups start the week commencing October 7, and prices start at $189 per month for 3 months. You get a discount if you pay all 3 months in advance. Previous participants found these groups life-changing for their business, and all groups come with a 100% money-back guarantee. If you're interested in finding out more or registering, head to mapitforward.coffee/group coaching or check the links in the show notes for details. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 2 of a 5-part series with Camila Khalife. We are talking about the privilege in coffee. Now, our last conversation in the first episode was about where the privilege is in coffee. I want to say something to you folks. If you listen to this conversation and think, this sounds really complicated, like these two humans are not like, they don't have a hard and fast answer to these questions, please know that I don't think a hard and fast answer exists to any of these questions. We are discussing and working through this in real time in the hope that it encourages you to do the same thing, whether inside your own mind or whether with your colleagues or your friends or your family. The idea of privilege is very, very complicated. It may seem like a very simple concept, but it is very difficult. And what I am really proud of is that as a woman in her late 40s, this was not a conversation that was even had in my 20s or my 30s. We were not having these kinds of conversations at that time. And so we as an entire community, whether you're white or other, we should all be leaning into, and very proud of the fact that we're leaning into these kinds of conversations, because they're really hard to have, but the fact that we can have them means that we are privileged. Because when you talked about this stuff 30 years ago, and I was that weirdo that was wanting to have a conversation about this stuff, I would be ostracized from any community. I was told like I was a troublemaker, and in every cafe that I worked in, I was usually the only woman, and I would talk about bullying, I would talk about just the inequality that was going on. Oh, you're playing the victim card. Oh, you want to be a troublemaker. And so we are at a time where we can have these conversations, but we're not at a time in history where we found the answers. And conversations like this, I hope, are what help people just think deeper about this stuff and understand that there are Instagram accounts like yours, Camilla, that exist to challenge people. You're not, from what I've witnessed about what you're doing, your intention is to get people to think. Is that correct?
Yes, definitely. I think I basically share my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
They're not necessarily always super organized, like the conversation.
She shares thoughts that smack you over the fucking head.
First, yeah, I like this conversation. And yeah, it's like you said, maybe it sounds like thinking out loud because that's what it is.
Yeah.
But yes, I think it's what I do is an invitation to think, to question, to reflect, to not just
Right.
sit and
Right. And in this particular episode, as we explore where the privilege in coffee is, we're going to be talking about whether producers need empowerment. And you smacked me over the head when you said to me, I hate the idea that people think that they are empowering producers with specialty coffee. Right? Talk to me about
Yes.
what you mean by that, please.
Yeah, I think that word should disappear from our language when we are talking about other communities, other cultures, other groups. It's the same when I hear we need to empower women.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just me. I think there's a whole movement of people that the idea is if you are empowering someone, it means you are giving them the power, right? Power that historically has been taken from them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have, again, the power to give it to them, it means you have the power to take it back anytime you want, right?
It's really interesting that you say that, because I was really taken aback when you said it, because I have said before, we need to, as I said in the last episode, we need to empower producers, we need to redistribute power across the supply chain. So I went and asked producers how they feel about it. After you said it to me, in preparing for this series, full disclosure, it's the only preparation that I did. But I went and I said to them, how do you feel about the idea of being like the consuming end empowering you? And they all hated it. They all agreed with you. And that shocked me.
Yeah, exactly.
And when I asked them why, which might surprise people, the answer was the same everywhere, which blew my mind. And it was, do you guys realize that without us, you're nothing?
What you were mentioning in the previous episode.
Yeah.
That's the problem with empowering. Many times, or every time, it's based on assumption. We assume producers need this. We assume this particular community has this particular need. And the problem is, again, maybe I'm again boring with the same.
You're not boring at all.
About we are looking everything through the same lens. So if, let's say, I feel comfortable wearing a sweater and a scarf, even if it's hot outside, and I ask my kid, hey, wear a sweater. Hey, I know what's best for you. It's like that paternalistic attitude. So since I think it's best to go to school from 8 to 1 and then grow up and go to university and then find a job from 8 to 5, and that's what you need to do, then I will see every community and every person through that lens, and I will try to help, because I see they are not going to school, I see they are not going to university, and I think they are not going to the bank from 8 to 5, and that is what they should be doing to be happy, to be successful. So I'm going to make a project to empower them to do that,
Okay.
Through my vision of what they need. I'm putting
No, I get what you're saying there.
But so
put that into a coffee context.
Many times empowerment comes with that vision. Oh, I need to I've seen, and this is a context. This is a coffee context. I have heard people saying that they would love for example, the kids of producers to be able to go to college and then probably get a job, and then they wonder why people don't want to stay working in coffee. It's like that's the vision we have of what needs to be done. Or infrastructure. We see that communities lack infrastructure from a very urban point of view. Or it doesn't matter. The thing is, we can assume whatever we want. We should ask. If we want to help, what producers told you, we never asked for help, or we never asked for any of those things. It's like, yeah, many times all these projects and all these like support that I don't know, foundations. There are all kinds of organizations working to empower communities and empower producers. And it's based on the assumption that they don't know what they need. They don't know what they want. They have no idea. And that is dehumanizing. That is, I don't know. It's very frustrating for me to see that people in the global north, I don't know, it's hard. What I'm going to say, it's hard, but it's many times I feel they don't even consider us humans, like fully formed humans with minds, with our own taste, with our own wishes and goals. And it's like these people, like designing a project or thinking this is what these people need is very...
Give me examples in coffee where that's the case.
For example, let's say roasters or importers wanting to invest in coffee communities where they buy coffee from, and giving money for specific projects. They have like their own agenda, right?
Right.
So they say education is important. So I want to give money for education.
Right.
For kids. And it's like, do you know if they need it? You're just assuming that they need it. You're just assuming that their education system is not working because it's not like yours, It's like all the time assuming. I feel that it's a very Western point of view. So, that people that live in different conditions are trying to meet your conditions of living,
So is the problem Roaster Lee, who has never roasted a batch in her life, just let's be very transparent there. Roaster Lee turns around and says, Mr. Coffee Producer, I have put aside a couple of $1,000s in my budget to give back to my suppliers.
Give back.
Well, to invest, right? It's the same as. So let's follow that through. I've set aside a couple of $1,000s to invest in your future so that we can have a better working relationship for longer. What do you need? And that person turns around and says, well, there was a lot of kids on the farm. And I know many examples of this happening just like this. We have a lot of kids on the farm and the school is too far away. So we want to set up a farm on the school, or we want to set up a healthcare center on the school, or we want to dig
on the farm.
On the farm, sorry. What is wrong with that?
First, if that community is not able to meet their needs of education, of health, or whatever, the first question would be, is this imaginary roaster paying enough for their coffee? Because the giving back, that's why I mentioned it.
Right.
It's like, I have set aside these $2,000. It's like, why didn't you pay better for coffee in the first time, in the first place? How are you able to
Okay.
set this money aside? Because you're
I want to
probably
answer that.
paying.
No.
Okay?
That's a really important point that you've said. Why aren't you paying more? Well, so in some of the circumstances, the producer may not be producing like that. Maybe they're producing an 82, right? Right? They're producing an 82 coffee. Now, me as a business, as a roaster, I can't sell that for the same price as an 89. And so I can only pay you for the quality of the product that I'm going to be able to sell it for, because my business is running at 8%. If I'm running it well, it's running at 8% net profit. I'm barely surviving as a business. And I can see that this is getting to the heart of what your problem is, but I don't understand it. I don't understand why, and maybe I'm not smart enough to understand it, but if you're creating a product that is at a certain quality, I can only sell it for a certain amount because the consumer is not going to pay more than that for it. So
Is it?
yeah,
That's what I wonder, because I feel the consumer is not as demanding as the industry itself. I don't think the consuming side notices as hard the difference between an 83 and an 85. And if we as an industry did better at communicating what really matters. Hey, this coffee is expensive because this is how much it costs to produce.
right.
This coffee is expensive because we are committed to buying, to a long-term relationship. So we need to pay more because otherwise this community will stop producing coffee because they are not making ends meet, It's as simple as that.
Right.
It's expensive to produce coffee, even an 82. It's expensive to produce. Okay, so that's what the problem I was mentioning that we caused ourselves, tying price to top quality. That's exactly this. Makes people value more an 83 than an 82, an 84 than an 82, and so on. When the cost of production is not that different. That aside, going back to what the community needs, it's like, let's say they have this extra. Why do we need to keep controlling what happens with that money? If you want to give back or whatever you want to call it to this community, why don't you just go and deposit the $2,000 and wait for them to decide what they do with it?
I can answer that. It's for tax reasons. So if I'm going to be spending money as a business owner on something, I have to be able to tell the government very clearly that I'm spending that money on a business expense. Otherwise, I'm just spending more money on nothing.
A donation. Or no, it's like you can make it a donation. You can make it beyond like the legal.
Camilla, with all the fucking corruption that goes on in coffee, there is not a single green buyer or roaster that is going to, with any confidence, just turn around and say, here's $2,000. And it's usually more than that, but here's $2,000, do what you want with it. That's not a reasonable thing to.
It should be.
But help me understand why.
Because you don't know what those people need. You don't know better. If they have needs, you should trust that they know better than you what they need. So
I agree with
trust that if they choose to invest in water or in whatever, whatever they.
No, you're right. I agree with you. I agree with you. But what I don't agree with, so what I agree is that the producer should be the person that's saying, this is what we need to spend that $2,000 on. It either needs to be on that, I 100% agree on. The reason that it needs to be something that is actually labeled as we're building a well or we're building a school or whatever it is, it has to be decided by the producer, right? The reason you can't say it's nothing is because now we're entering some very shaky ground with regards to, I don't know what the government is going to say about me writing this off.
Yeah, no, that's not what I meant. It's not nothing.
Right.
It's not like here's more money, I'm giving away money. That's not what I meant. Like, let's say,
Right.
for example, if we are talking about specific projects, let's talk about what we do with community. Many times there are, it's hard for us to explain that what we are investing on is on the right to decide what to do with their money, with this money.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like people are like, okay, I want to give money for a gender project, or I want to give money for a water project. I want to give money for a kid project. It's like, why? First, it's like, why? Why do you want to impose your agenda on? Yes, there are needs in the world. There are needs everywhere and needs to address gender issues and all kinds of issues, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I also feel there's a huge need to invest in this, in trust, in knowing that these people who produce the coffee that we love so much have the power, the agency, and the right to decide how to change their future, how to design their future. So what we do is, for example, we let them decide and design their project. It's not just take the money and live with it. It's not that. But the project, the beauty of this is that you see projects that you would never, ever see coming from the minds of people who don't live there.
Okay.
Because there are needs that go beyond whatever you can imagine. There's a community in Mexico that had access to this budget. And what they decided to do with a part of the budget was to start lessons of Nahuatl, their native language, because it was being lost. Generation to generation, they noticed it was getting lost. And they, given the opportunity to decide what to do with the money, they were like, this is what we consider important. This is what we want to rescue. When or how can you have a project like that conceived in Europe? What if these people need to rescue their native language? That would never, ever happen, And that was very important for them. And they probably and surely have other needs, but they decided to prioritize that, right?
Okay.
So the thing is that when you support, when you accompany, when you partner, and when you build like partnerships based on respect, on the idea that the other is as smart, as valuable, as creative as you can see these things, and not from the idea that you know better and that, everybody needs education, everybody needs access to water, everybody needs, probably we all do, but what we were talking the other day, and I think we will talk more about it in another episode, like whose voices are we listening to, right? Why aren't we asking more, listening more, and stepping aside and giving up control?
Which is exactly what we're going to talk about in the next episode. Well done, lady. Well done. Join us for the next episode, folks, as we try and continue to untangle what we're discussing. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, friends. Please don't forget to show us some love by subscribing, liking, commenting, and most of all, sharing this podcast with your friends. Check the show notes for links, including our sponsors and our Patreon. And stay tuned for more great conversations on the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward.